Matthew 10, 26 to 31. So have no fear of them, for nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And even the hairs of your head are all counted. So do not be afraid. You are of more value than many sparrows. 2 sparrows for a penny. The expanse of God's knowledge and care, God's power and love, cannot be fathomed by those of us made in the divine image. We talk about compassion fatigue and burnout, lacking emotional bandwidth, or simply reaching the end of our rope in relationships and otherwise. We project our own human limits on the triune God. Surely, we think, God no longer hears the same prayer we have prayed for weeks, if not years. Surely, we imagine, God has bigger problems to tackle than ours, be they health-related, family dynamics, money stresses, or job woes. This passage tells us otherwise. God cares deeply for us, so deeply, in fact, that God accounts for every hair on our heads. As the psalmist notes, every word we utter is known to God before we ever even speak it. Each of our days numbered, written in God's book. God's involvement in our lives knows no limits. God's concern for the creation God made and called good did not stop on the 7th day of Sabbath rest. No, God refuses to let us alone, comforting and sometimes frightening as such holy purview might be. Jesus so emphatically wants to communicate God's providence and omnipotence and loving kindness that he points to the sparrows, 2 sold for a penny, of not much worth from our human perspective. And yet, these sparrows that we buy and sell for next to nothing, God notes the death of each and every one. How much more, therefore, does God regard each and every person? How might we see ourselves, the people around us and around the globe, animals and all creation, if we considered daily their worth in the eyes of God? When I find myself with a cynical thought bubble above my head, or on the cusp of a barely contained eye roll, Jesus' assurance of God's benevolent attention toward me calls me to extend such grace toward others. When I cringe and feel sadness at the sight of the squirrel dead in the middle of my country road, I no longer chide myself for being sensitive, but remember that God winced over the suffering of this rodent too. I cannot know and care on the scale that God knows and cares. I am a creature, but I, like all creatures, am valuable to God. Knowing that truth, recalling it daily, enables me to see other people, other animals, creation, through a gentler, more loving lens. God counts every hair on my head and on yours too. God delights in sparrows and squirrels, butterflies and worms. No portion of land or person, centimeter of earth or centipede, is unseen by God. All are knit together and known by their Creator. A prayer for this day. God, we give thanks for the sparrows sold for 2 pennies, the squirrels so plentiful we often fail to notice them, and for all the priceless people we encounter this day. We thank you, too, for your unfailing love for us. We give to you our deepest concerns and our greatest hopes, knowing that you will take them, honor them, and mold them into something beautiful for you and for us. Amen.